Hey guys, welcome to More Than Missionary. Before we start the show, we have a little disclaimer.
We are not licensed psychologists, therapists, life coaches, sex coaches, etc. We are literally two humans who like to talk about sex and share stories and experiences that might be relatable to you or someone you know, so we can all become more knowledgeable in the practices of safe and fun sex.
Enjoy the show.
We are your hosts. I'm Christina.
I'm Ashley.
And today we're just going to be talking about ourselves and, how our self-confidence was shaped,
from being bullied children.
Bullied children, yes. This is we're having almost like it's a good venting session to talk about these things. But I was definitely bullied growing up. I kind of was picked on a lot for being annoying and talkative, and then as I grew up and started to go through puberty, people were, not very kind then either. So, and then, I feel like, at least for myself, I did not view myself as like a cute person or in any kind of sexual way too. And part of that also is because I was religious and I was always told like no in that way. Yeah, I don't know. What about you? What was your experience like?
Well, I grew up in a neighborhood that was predominantly white. So I was one of like two Asian kids in my elementary. So I got made fun of a lot just for being Asian. And then I was a weird kid. I was into like scene, and I wore my hair all teased up and weird, and I was a weird girl. Hell yeah. Hell yes, I did.
What was your song that you put on your profile?
Oh my gosh, it always changed. You guys remember, I loved music. I mean, I still do. I love music. So, I was that bitch that, changed it, once a week. I was so on.
Based on what was going on this week, okay?
My ass is bipolar.
Yeah, I totally relate to that. I was definitely a weird kid growing up. I did not really have a group of friends. I kind of, bounced from group to group. And I had friends in different groups, but the one group that I did hang out with was definitely considered the weird group table, So I think because it was because that's where most of my friends were too, or a couple of them were, and we all had the same lunch schedule every year. So it was cool. But I definitely think people did not see me as I had very low self-confidence. I remember one time because I was bullied, there was a girl that got a guy to ask me to a dance as a prank.
Children are so cruel.
So mean. Yeah. And so I was after that I was okay, I get it. I'm ugly. Okay, cool. Sounds good. And just kind of all right, well, if nobody's gonna date me, then I'm just gonna be weird and not give a shit. So I just stopped caring, or I didn't stop caring, you know what I mean? It was just all right. So
you stopped pretending that you cared.
Yeah, I stopped. Yes, exactly. But so the other part too. So I grew up with a dad that was in law enforcement, and I grew up in not a big town, but a medium-sized suburban area, and he was well known. So nobody wanted to date the cop's kid too, so that definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. My dad also was a cop.
Oh yeah, I always.
And my dad was also ex-military. Like, he retired out of the Navy. So, yeah, nobody wanted to date that kid's daughter. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, I feel like, well, because I feel like we had these experiences, I feel like we were just talking about this, that, like, for me, I cannot tell today if when somebody's talking to me, if they're, like, I'm just being friendly and having a conversation. And I'm not flirting. I'm not trying to flirt. I'm just being friendly. But people tend to think that I'm flirting. And so then they, like, will, like, flirt back with me and I don't notice it. And my husband has totally been like, that person was
yeah.
flirt with you. And I was like, I did not notice that. Like, he will notice things way more often than I will.
My partner flirts with me and I don't know that he's flirting with me.
Oh, I feel like whenever my husband flirts with me, I turn it into a joke half the time.
Yeah.
And I'll, like,
he can't ever take a compliment either.
No.
Like, he'll be like, I love you. You're my world. I'm like, okay. Okay. Like,
I feel that. I feel like I have, like, more, like, I feel like my way of flirtation now is, like, teasing banter than it actually is, like,
yeah.
like, put in a move on somebody. Like, I'm
like actively trying to be better about it. I'm, like, actively trying to take the compliments.
Yeah.
It's so hard, but I know that he feels better about giving me the compliment when I actually take it and I don't deflect it.
Yeah.
And I notice a difference in, like, how he reacts to my thank yous and my, like, appreciation versus, like, my joking. Because when I joke about it, I also think that he feels like I don't trust his word. Like, he doesn't, like, I don't believe him. Yeah. And, like, I do believe him because otherwise, like, why would he want to spend time with, like, you know what I mean? Like, why would we be together? But at the same time, it's like, it's so easy to deflect and be like, I'm not pretty, like, like, you know, like, not being able to take the compliment. And it's like
you have that, like, part of your brain that's still from your adolescence that is very much,
yes,
like, telling you, like, oh, you're wrong. Okay,
yeah.
So, like, okay, I recently went to one of my high school reunions, and it was very eye-opening because when I was there, things really do come full circle. And as I was there, I was like, you know what? I was like, now that we're all adults and I kind of just can see what's going on, I'm like, you know what? I'm pretty fucking cool now. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, fuck all these people.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, like, it made it come full circle for me, where I was like, you know what? Like, I am not that kid. I'm not that kid anymore.
Yeah.
I've changed and I've grown. And that's, you know, ultimately where we want to be. But.
No, for sure. And, like, I even think back, like, and we've had this, like, conversation just between the two of us where I've had things come full fruition during shadow work of being able to look at a younger version of myself and being like, whoa, you're seen. Like, I see you now. I promise. Like, you are going to be so proud of the person you become in the future.
Oh, my God. Do you ever have times where you wish you can, like, if you could just, like, say one thing to your former self, like, to your younger self?
Oh, yeah. But I think that's, like, what shadow work is. It's, like, going back into your memory.
It's like feeling that inner child part of you.
But even, like, recognizing the rewarding moments of your child. Like, shadow work isn't all, like, negative and healing, like, the negative stuff. It's also going back and feeling the gratefulness of the, like, the things that you did get to experience as a child that were happy and good.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. I feel like, I don't know, do you think going to therapy is shadow work, or do you think shadow work is
100%.
So
yes, they go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand. I feel like when you're able to do any form of shadow work, whether it's that or, you know, through meditation, through journaling, through, you know, use of your spiritual space of whatever you use, but I definitely think you're able to really have a much better sense of self.
Yeah.
Doing that.
Well, therapy is healing.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's a form of healing.
Do you ever get to a point where you're like, have you ever gotten to a point where you feel like you're in a really good space and you're like, everything everything's great right now. I've been like, I can't think of anything I want to talk about at the moment in therapy. And then all of a sudden, like, bam, like some shit happens and you're like, never mind, back to the hard stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's when, like, the biggest revelations come is like, but I also think that's like the world letting you know, like,
you're not done, bitch.
Well, not only that, but like, hey, look, you're feeling really great right now. Yeah. Like, I promise this feeling is going to come back. Like, you've felt this.
There's always peaks and valleys, no matter what. And that's been a very interesting lesson for me to learn throughout the years and as I've developed into the adult that I've become. Just, like having a hard time with change and being like, no, you don't have it all figured out yet.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But I think, I don't know. I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like all of it, like, and we were talking about this earlier, like, being with nature, all of those things, like, it's all, like, a form of, like, healing and, like, taking care of yourself and taking care of, you know, the earth, the universe.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Honestly, there's something very balancing about going out in nature and like being active, doing things like outside.
Yeah.
It's very healing.
But it's childlike.
Very much so. Very much so. I can definitely relate to that as I'm a nanny. So
yeah.
I'm constantly outside with kids, like playing outside. So.
But yeah. So I think those things are great, especially like if you are in like a healing journey.
Absolutely.
But I think we're also able to think so inwardly about these things because of how we like grew up and like had to unfortunately deal with, you know, the traumas of bullying and all those things. I feel like when you go through that at an early age, you're forced to emotionally mature very quickly and be able to have empathy for your bullier. Because I feel like that's the only way to really kind of move on in a healthy way.
Yeah. Okay, you know what's really interesting? Okay, so in regards to bullies. Okay, so I had bullies, you were bullied as well. And it's bizarre to me that you have these like bullies, right, that are at your school. And you have to think that, like, they're also probably being bullied somewhere. Mm-hmm. So you have, like, I have, like, now as an adult, as shitty as it was to be bullied, I do look back, and I'm like, oh, man, like, those people must have had some shitty lives going on for them to also be mean to other kids.
Yeah.
Like, kids just, like, being mean to other kids for no reason.
I also think some kids are just cruel as fuck. Yeah.
But then, like, what caused them to be cruel? You know what I mean?
I think also, like, the social things of, like, wanting to be cool in the moment. Like, all of those things are a part of it. And not only that, but our culture feeds into that.
Yeah.
Think about, like, how many of those, like, housewife shows where, like, women are being catty to one another. And, like, we feed into it. Like, our society feeds into that stuff, so then we're teaching young girls and young boys that it's, like, it's cool to be mean to other people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all fucked up, guys. It's all fucked up.
But how it shaped us, like I said, I think we kind of had to emotionally mature a little bit more at a younger age, because you had to recognize you had to learn to recognize that it's not your fault.
That is so true.
And
it sucks because it's like it does such a fucking damage on like your self-esteem. Mm-hmm. When you're a kid and then you get to an adulthood and it's like you still hear those fucking stupid comments and untrue comments about who you are as a person, as if it's supposed to affect your value as a human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how have you regained your self-confidence then, and being able to look in the mirror and see you as the person you are today versus the person or child you were when you felt your lowest?
Okay, I would say I wish you could go back in time and talk to your younger self sometimes, like actually be able to do it. But stop giving a fuck about what other people think about you. I was so
But how did you get to that point?
I had some pretty shitty events happen with people that I cared about that I realized just didn't actually give a shit about me, and me constantly trying to win people's approval. And then I was like, I actually don't fucking care about what anybody thinks about what I'm doing, and I'm just gonna do whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if somebody's mad at you, get in line.
Yeah.
You're gonna always have people hating on you. And I got the best advice from a very dear friend of mine that this was like such life-changing advice, and it's such a cool analogy. So she told me, she was like, I was complaining about, somebody that hurt my feelings, blah, 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 for no reason. Pretty much about bullies. And she told me that you can be the biggest, brightest, most beautiful, juiciest peach in the world, but at the end of the day, some people just don't like peaches. And I thought about that, and it stuck with me. I was just like, you're right. You can be what you would consider just who you love about yourself, and there's always going to be people that dislike you.
Mm-hmm.
For the dumbest reasons, or maybe they're legit, doesn't really matter, to be honest. Who gives a fuck? But I got to a point where I was like, I just don't care anymore. I don't care about what people think about me because it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter.
But that also comes with confidence and self-assurance.
Absolutely. And that is through years of therapy. Is how I got to that point. If you're wondering how I did, it was because I did a lot of that inner work.
So what did that inner work actually look like for you?
Unpacking the things I stuffed away with somebody that I know is like somebody that I know that is literally there to help me. That's why they're there. They're there to help me unpack these things. And I can, cry about it. I can talk about it. I can analyze. I'm very when I talk about the things that have happened in my life, I look at it almost like taking my emotions out of it, almost
mm-hmm.
like a filing cabinet, and being like, this is this situation, and compartmentalizing everything. And when I'm doing that, it's good and it's bad, because you gotta balance that out. But to be able to analyze things and why they are the way that they are, why did I do this over that? Why did just the whys of my childhood
mm-hmm.
that I never got answered, or trying to understand how it made me feel, because it's when you're a kid, if something crappy happens, especially talking about, how your experience with bullies and growing up with bullies and how it affected you, when you're able to go through those whys of why did I react that way and why did it happen, and where it's how it's affecting me today,
mm-hmm.
and kind of understanding that on an analytical basis for myself has been very helpful with being able to be okay, I understand it, I've made my peace with it, I can't change it, and knowing I can't change the past, and then allowing it to rest unless it comes back up for some reason, because you never know when it's going to come back up.
Yeah.
So I have been recently, now that I've been working with kids and stuff, I have noticed that I've had a lot of my own childhood come back up while I'm helping other children,
mm-hmm.
and it's definitely something that has helped me, really helped me come full circle with some of those really crappy experiences and how it affected my self-esteem and my childhood growing up and things like that. And that's part of how I've gotten to this point of being very comfortable with myself and who I am right now, and understanding why I am the way that I am at this point by looking in the past, but then coming to terms and coming to peace with the past. So that's been very helpful, and I think also doing a lot of spiritual work as well, and like, ever since I started getting into witchcraft, I feel like I've really come into my own person.
Yeah.
I have more Zen in my life now than I ever have in any other type of religious context.
Yeah.
Or not religious context. Like, I just feel like it feeds that like spiritual part of you, that like an abundance of conscientious.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe that.
I feel like witchcraft for me gives me a sense of control. Or maybe
This is Aurora.
I don't know. Okay.
It's hard to describe.
Yeah, it's like having that third eye open.
Yeah.
Gives you. Oh, you're so cute. Having that third eye open gives you a sense of calm in the chaos.
Yeah.
Knowing, I mean, and I read tarot. You read tarot. It helps you look inward and understand your own situations better, and helps you create perception that you wouldn't have created on your own. That's really all tarot is. It can't tell the future. It just gives you another look, another outlook on something, another perception of something, which is why everybody reads tarot differently.
Yeah.
But I think it gives you like a calm in the chaos.
Yeah, that's kind of how it feels. Like, just like a space to just.
Yeah.
A space to. It's another form of shadow work.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. For me, I feel like a lot of it was forgiveness. Like, being able to forgive the people who hurt me and made me lose my confidence in myself. And then also learning to forgive myself. And that was the hardest one. Is like learning to forgive myself for hating myself for so long. For, I don't think I've indulged on the podcast that I used to be very overweight, but the reason I had gained so much weight was a form of like self-defense, or that's what my body thought. I was in a fight or flight mode when I had gained all this weight. So, learning to like forgive myself for who I was in that time, because I used to look at that person and I hated her. I hated who I was. And I look at her now and I have empathy for her. I can understand her. And forgiving myself for hating that version of me, and forgiving myself for allowing my body to basically get to that point, I had to forgive myself for that. And I think once I forgave myself for all of that, I was able to let go of so much and like actually truly have like real confidence in myself. Yeah. And this is like not something that like is done. Like, I am still actively doing this. Like, it is still very hard for me to think about that version of myself when I gained all that weight, because of all the memories that are tied to that. And being able to not only forgive myself for the weight gain and everything else, and allowing myself to go through a lot of the trauma that I went through at that time, and being able to love that version of me. Like, I have to actively learn to love that version of myself. Because I still look at that person and I'm just like, you fat piece of shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
my past self, and I'm like, you annoying little bitch.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, you, like, I literally, like, there are times where I'm like, I feel like and it's not good to do. And I'll be like, well, you know, I you know what, I was kind of annoying as a kid.
Yes.
I was an annoying motherfucker.
Yeah.
I really do, like, I'm like, but.
We were ADHD kids. Like, nobody knew what was wrong with us.
What's going on? Yeah. I saw, like, a recent video of, like, me as a kid. I don't remember the situation. It was just, like, a cute little video of me, I guess. But I looked at it and I was like, oh, God, I am annoying.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, my parents did the same thing where they pulled, like, a home video out of me. And I'm like, Ew, I was so annoying. But then again, you have to go back and like love that version of yourself and just be like,
you're a kid. You don't care.
Yeah.
When you're like really little, like I really do feel like you don't give a fuck, right? Like,
yeah.
Kids do not give a fuck.
Yeah. And it's so funny. It's so different from who I am now as an adult, because as a child, like I loved attention. Not just from anyone though, but I loved attention from like my parents. I loved attention. From anybody else, I didn't care.
Yeah.
But for my...
Well, your parents are your whole world.
Yeah.
You're, like, that young. So, yeah, like, of course you're, like, you want their attention.
But I was so annoying. Like, I look at these home videos and I'm like, I'm annoying. Like, I am so annoying.
Can you just, like, give them a break?
Yeah.
Give your parents
yeah. That's what I would go back and tell little me. I'd be like, give your parents a break, dude. They're trying their best. Like, you're kind of annoying. My mom is such a mom. She's so sweet. Every single time I bring up like how annoying I was, she's like, you were not annoying. You were adorable. I'm like, you are such a mom. Like, you can't even admit when I was a little shit.
I will say this, out of everybody, like our moms, like I feel like your mom's like that. Does your mom compliment you the most? My mom compliments me.
Yeah, yes.
Like I was like the only the only time where I will like fully accept a compliment, because I'm like, fine, you're my mom. You're supposed to do that.
Yeah. My mom is my biggest hype man.
Oh yeah, so
my biggest hype man.
Same with my mom.
It's so funny. I'm like, Mom, you're just momming right now. Like, chill. And like I feel so bad that I'm like that too, because I'm like, there are so many people out there that don't have good relationships with their mom and wish they had that. And I'm over here like, God, Mom, like, you're such a mom. And I'm like, I kind of feel guilty. Like, but yeah, I love my mom.
Yeah, I love my mom too. Damn, we should have posted this before Mother's Day.
I know, right?
It just happened.
Shout out to our moms.
Shout out to our moms, for sure. You guys are the real MVPs.
For real. Thanks for being there for us when we were being bullied.
Yes, seriously, yeah. Honestly, though, okay, so I will say this. I do a little tidbit. I don't know if I shared this story on the pod before, but did I tell you that I punched a kid when I was in the 5th grade?
No.
Okay, so there was a bully that was in my camp. So here's what's interesting about this. So when I was little, I didn't give a fuck, and I had a lot of confidence. And then I went through, like, middle school, high school, and I lost all of my confidence. But when I was a kid, I did not give a flying shit. There was a bully at our camp when I was like 10. Yeah, I was like in 5th grade, like 10 years old. And this kid was just like, he would like actively try to like start fights with people, so I would stand up for them. And then I remember he started turning his direction to me for like a full month. And at one point, I got to a point where I was so fed up with it, he rat-tailed me in the face with a towel, and I just saw red, and I punched him so hard in the face that he passed out.
As you should.
That's what I did to bullies when I was little.
As you should.
And then I lost all of my self-confidence. Because boys are mean.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Boys are mean.
Boys are mean.
I think even our men are sometimes mean. They're just, it's just bred in their DNA.
Yeah, but I feel like now, shit, this is probably where we get our weird kinks from, by the way. A little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of it is like also just like banter, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like we tease each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I think it's because we've been ingrained in our brains that like, when boys are mean to you, it means that they like you.
Yeah.
Like,
it's such a shitty thing, though, to like tell.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, like Johnny's pulling your pigtails. Yeah, that means he likes you. No, tell him to fucking stop.
But also, like, I mean, let's face it. We all like had a crush on our bully.
Or I have a crush on my bully.
Not necessarily even like a bully, but like a guy that just like stood by and like watched it happen, didn't give a fuck.
Like somebody within the group that was there.
Yeah, or like
I know what you mean. Yeah, there was like
some hot guy that didn't even know you existed.
That was me. I had this, like, weird thing where I started a crush on somebody, like, it was, like, 3 years in high school. And I feel like I would, like, constantly make eye contact with this person, but I never said anything. Like, could not speak to this person if I tried and wanted to, because he was, like, older than me. He was, like, a couple of years older than me. He was, like, in high school, but he was, like, in my brother's grade. And so it was like, I cannot speak to this person.
I mean, y'all were in the same classes?
No.
Oh, okay.
I just knew him because he was on the wrestling team and I thought he was cute. Like,
okay.
It was hilarious, like, looking back. I remember one time one of my friends, like, knew him and was like, oh, like, you should go say hi to him right now. And I was, like, in, like, pajama pants, and I was like, absolutely not. And I remember she, like, pushed me to him, and I, like, could not speak. I was like,
oh my gosh.
Hi, I have to go to class now, bye. And, like, literally, like, booked it out of there.
Oh my goodness.
But I'm pretty sure this person knew, like, that I liked him for 3 years.
Yeah.
So that was, like, the only kind of situation where I had a crush on somebody that was within, like, a popular group sphere that also bullied me within that group, but that was about it.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't, like, actually have a crush on my actual bully, but I definitely had a crush on a boy, and I remember, like, finding out that he was, like, making fun of me because
that's so mean.
I'm Asian. So I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. But it's fine.
Listen, I get it. Somebody asked me as a joke to a dance my sophomore year.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was really fun.
Like I said, kids are so cruel. Kids are so cruel.
Yeah.
I think, like, sometimes kids, like, just also don't know that they're being shitty. When they're little.
Definitely knew they were being shitty. Maybe when they're really little, but I don't know. This person that did this was in on it.
Ew. I don't like that.
Yeah. So. This is no bueno.
Damn these kids.
These damn kids. But at least, okay, so, like, right now, how would you say your confidence is now as an adult versus when you were a kid?
I have so much more confidence now.
Yeah.
I think also, like, so you also kind of have to remember that, like, I was a caregiver most of my childhood. So those were things that, like, didn't really matter to me at, like, a young age. I don't really remember myself having confidence or not having confidence at a young age because I didn't have time for that. And I think you and I talked about this, where I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and I have a very hard time, like, making conversation with them between, like, the ages of, like, 4 and, like, 12, like, when they start becoming, like, real humans again and, like, talk to you about just, like, life things. And I asked my therapist, I'm like, I don't know why I'm like I love children. Yeah. I just, like, don't know how to interact with them, and I feel awkward. And she's like, well, of course you didn't. She's like, you didn't have a childhood. You weren't thinking about kid things at those ages. Yep. You were thinking about taking care of your dad. You were a caregiver. And my grandma. And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. And so, like, I didn't really ever remember myself having confidence in those ways. I knew I was very assured of myself when it came to things like I was responsible. Like, I was very assured of myself knowing that, like, I was a good caregiver at a young age and I was responsible, like, at a young age. Yeah.
But that's how, I feel that way with, like, being what I would consider, like, not a caregiver in my household, but somebody who would get in between, like arguments between adults. You know what I mean? Like, would be like, okay, like, and would be the adult in the situation as a kid. And I was really good at it, but it was not appropriate for me to do because I was a child and it lost a lot of part. Like, I felt responsible for adult problems that were not my problems. Yeah. And that shouldn't have been my problem. And same for you.
Yeah.
Like, you were a caregiver, and it's, like, unfair that you got put into that position as a child. So you lost that part of your childhood. And So I totally understand that part.
Yeah. And yeah, so I didn't even realize that I had low self-esteem until like well into my adulthood.
Yeah.
Like when my dad would, because my dad like is very like, he calls a spade a spade. He's just very like straightforward. And he would get upset with me that I had such low self-confidence. I mean, both my parents, like they would tell me that I needed to have more confidence in myself, and I was like, I'm pretty confident, like I'm good, like I thought I had enough confidence to get me through, you know. But it was because I was confident in the fact that I knew what I brought to the table as being a caregiver, but I never looked at it as a not what I can do for somebody else, but being able to look inward and say like, no, I'm good enough as myself, and not because of what I can do for somebody else. And like learning to love like actually myself and not what I can provide for somebody else. And so when I like started to go to therapy and really diving into that, I was like, oh my gosh, do I have low confidence? Like, am I not self-confident like at all? And I realized like I really wasn't. I should have known that I wasn't confident, right? I talked so bad about myself. Like I hated myself. Like I would always talk badly about how I'm ugly or how I'm fat or how, and even when I was like small, I was around cheerleaders, dancers, and fighters, all like either swole big or tiny human beings. And so like me having even a little bit of fat on me bugged me, and I was like, oh, I'm not skinny enough, and I'm not this enough. And so it really messed with like my body dysmorphia at a young age, and learning to love myself as a human and not what I can do for other people, and really looking inward and being able to say no, like even now, like losing weight, like, and still going through that, I have to stand in front of the mirror and force myself to tell myself things that I like about my body right now. And even if it's like not fully true, like, 'cause sometimes it's not, and I just have to like fake it. I have to be like, I don't like my boobs because they're small and they're not the same size and like whatever, like, you know. And so I will literally stand naked though in front of a mirror and be like, I have good titties, I love my titties, and like I have to like, pretend like, you have yes to, like, it's like faking it till you make it. And then you learn to love that part of your body because you associate it with that instead of with the constant like negative self-hate that you tell yourself. Like, look, if I have money one day, your girl's getting boobies. I'm letting you know right now.
I get it. Like I am. You know what's interesting? You know, there's like that stigma about like plastic surgery. Do whatever the fuck you want.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's gonna make you feel good. I had surgery on my ears. That was plastic surgery. That was purely cosmetic. Okay.
I feel like you do what makes you feel the most confident and most like authentic, like whatever you have to do. Because honestly, like, and I don't want titties so that like men can look at me or women can look at me or whatever. It's not for that. Like, I don't even like, it's more just like, I want to feel really good and really proud of like my body. And that's like why I work out, and that's why I try to eat healthy. I mean, I do like the occasional taco and cinnamon roll here and there, but
listen, who fucking doesn't?
But yeah, like just learning to like love your body. And this is the body I'm stuck with for right now until I become a millionaire and I get big titties. And then I will just love my body a little extra then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I definitely think like having that like positive self-talk for yourself is that's very, very beneficial. Definitely, I do my own form of that for sure. Just like things you don't like about yourself, and you're like, all right, like gotta actively tell yourself you like them.
Yeah. And
that you love them because it's part of you, and it is not like a reflection of like the value as you are as a human.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh.
I think we can wrap that one up.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, this has been this was supposed to be a mini-sode.
I know. This was very therapeutic, though.
This is I'm glad we were able to talk about these things. So, well, guys, thank you so much for joining us on this episode today. Again, we're your hosts. I'm Christina.
I'm Ashley.
And this is More Than Missionary, and we will see you guys on the next one.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.